Hello everybody, welcome to Video Games Awesome Live. This is Hearthstone Awesome on Video Games Awesome Live. It's a lonesome show because Becky is not in the province. She comes back tomorrow though, and it's way too hot to be streaming right now, but I've decided to do it anyways. I don't know. We'll see how long I last. I just had a hankering for some Hearthstone and I didn't feel like working out. I thought that working out would probably actually make me hotter than streaming, and I feel like it's a waste to play Hearthstone if I'm not streaming or working out. You know, I feel like I have to make a rule for myself about that, even though I'll still play it in bed. I'm gonna do an arena run, as you may have seen from the pre-show here. Shaman or Warlock, Druid or Rogue, Mage or Shaman. I have been looking at these two for the last like 2 days apparently, and I have yet to get Druid. Oh, Druid came up once. Rogue, Shaman, or Warlock have yet to come up. And I've already paid for my arena, and as you'll see here, I've got a Druid available as an option. So I guess I'm gonna have to go along with him because he's like my best chance at earning some free golds.
I must protect the wild.
Druid can be quite good in Arena, actually. I always thought he was kind of a weak character, but over time I came to realize that he's actually not frickin' half bad at all. One of my favorite parts about playing Druid is that he's versatile. You've got guys like this, Keeper of the Grove, lots of choices in the cards. Choose one, deal 2 damage, or silence a minion. You got one of my favorites here, the Angry Chicken. Questing Adventure can be okay, but you know, conditional depending on your deck build. Much better to go with Keeper of the Grove, a very solid rare card for the Druid. Here you've got Ancient Watcher, who is extremely conditional. He can't attack, so really the only time you're going to use this guy is if you know that you can combo him out with like an owl or something like that, or you know, the Spell Protector guy. But even then, it feels like kind of a waste of a Spell Protector. And by what I'm saying there is to silence him. Silence gets rid of all stuff that's like written on the card. Sun Fury Protector gives your guys taunt, which allows them to block 2 guys either side. I'm gonna go ahead with Spell Break, or not Spell Protector, yeah. I'm gonna go ahead with Nourish. It's a solid card. Not something I would usually choose in a rare pack. Oftentimes I'll choose something else over Nourish, but in this particular pack it seems to be the strongest card. And it can really save your butt late game. Alright, so this is an interesting pack. You got 3 Druid cards here. Claw. True, Druid does have taunt enablers that make the Watcher a bit better, because you can like give, like in that last pack, you could give him taunt with the Protector. I like Claw because it's like it's a nice cheap 2 damage removal spell. There's only one other character I think that can do this, and that's the Hunter has Arcane Shot. Innervate can be extremely good if you get it at the right time. The thing is, you're wasting a card to use it, right? Like, it's a card out of your hand. Power of the Wild is nice and versatile. It's a 2-drop, 3/2, standard type of creature that you get out on the second turn. Or it can buff a bunch of guys as +1/+1s. Priest has a 2 damage, 1 mana spell? Wow, I guess I play Priest so rarely. Holy Smite? Really? That's funny. I never even, I play Priest so rarely. He's so weak in Arena. What do you guys like here in this pack? This one's a tough one for me. Especially this early on. I tend towards the removal. Power of the Wild, even though it's versatile and it's a nice, I like fitting it into that 2-drop slot. Really? Wow. I would go with the Claw myself. Removal's just so hard to come by, and that's such cheap and beautiful removal. Just 1 mana? It just costs you 1 mana. and you can get rid of anything on the board. I'm gonna go with the claw, guys. I even though I love the versatility, he just said the claw saves your butt so often. Acolyte of Pain, not as powerful outside of a mage deck. In a mage deck, you know, Acolyte of Pain is a much higher pick because you can ping them, so you get more card draw value out of them. Flesh-Eating Ghoul can be very nice. Both of these guys are pretty good, actually. Kobold Geomancer is conditional depending on how your deck is shaping up. He's a late pick. If you have a lot of cheap spells that do damage. He does buff Starfalls and Swipes, Sarkith, but I don't know that I'm going to get a Starfall or a Swipe. And in Arena, I always go for the objectively, early draft, I go for the objectively good card. The best card in a vacuum. Within the first 10 picks, you got to go that way. Like, I have to think of it in the sense that I am not going to get a single swipe. And it doesn't buff your claw. Yep. It's a toss-up for me between these two. So, what's your favorite, guys, out of Flesh-Eating Ghoul and an Acolyte for this particular? I tend towards the Ghoul, I think, myself. Just because there's not a lot of ways to get value out of... Draw is important, but in many cases, you're just sending down a 1/3 for 3 mana who's gonna be gone. Like, you're gonna get a card back, but you basically just wasted 3 mana because he only does 1 damage. I'll go with the Acolyte. If I was playing on my own, I think I would have tended towards the Ghoul. Haunted Creeper, Stormwind Knight. I'm not gonna grab the Shield Bearer. I'm still iffy about his value, the Haunted Creeper. I don't think he's that bad. I think he's actually quite good, the Haunted Creeper. It's so nice to send out the Haunted Creeper when you're in this board position where you're like up against a mage and you're worried about a board wipe. Like a Flame Strike or something like that. It's really nice and comfortable knowing that he's at least you're gonna get those 1/1s back. Especially in a deck for the Druid that can buff little guys like this too. Stormwind Knight is also really solid though. The fact that he has charge can really save your butt. And the fact that he has 5 health is a big deal. I'm gonna go for the Stormwind Knight, but I do like the Creeper. I just wanted to talk about the Creeper because I'm still valuing him based on play. Not a great pack. Healing Touch, if you need to spend 3 mana and a card on health, you probably weren't doing too well in the game to begin with. Unless it synergizes somehow with something, you don't want Healing Touch. Ogre Magi is a 4/4 body on turn 4. He's not a 4/5 like the Yeti, but so he's a little bit squishier, but he gives you that spell +1 damage. The Murloc Tide Hunter, unless you've got a deck that synergizes lots of little guys on the board, rarely am I going to pick him over the Ogre Magi. Corehound is for the 7th turn to have a guy with 5 health makes him extremely squishy. That 9 damage, if you can get by with it, is nice, but I love the versatility of Wrath, even though sometimes I find myself hard for me to convince myself to send it out for 3 damage when I can deal 1 damage to get a card. I've almost tricked myself into bad play situations just because I'm so obsessed with free cards. But yeah, Wrath is worth it. Here we got the Frost Elemental, Soul of the Forest. I can't pick this early on. There are times where in a draft I might consider Soul of the Forest even over these two, but this early in the draft, these two beat that out hands down. Now, between these two, I tend towards the Venture Co. Mercenary. Like I've said before on the show, in Arena, the drawback of the Venture Co. Mercenary is negligible at best, at worst even. So rarely does the downside of Venture Co. end up biting you in the butt. There are times where it does bite you in the butt, but often if you can keep him out for a turn in which the downside is affecting you, then you're doing pretty good. So what if your guys cost 3 more? You got a 7/6 on the board that survived and is ready to attack now. That's a good thing. The only times where it really sucks is when he gets frozen by a mage or, well, heck, when he gets frozen by anybody with the Frost Elemental. Or the worst possible scenario, which is if you're up against a Paladin and he sends out that 3/3 guy who turns him into a 1/6. And then you can barely get rid of him if you want to get rid of him because he has so much health and he only deals 1 damage. Follow the rules, yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna go with the Venture Co. 1 mana cheaper, 1 extra toughness, 2 extra power. I'm talking about in comparison to the Frost Elemental. There's just so often during a game, I will find myself staring down the Venture Co. Mercenary and being like, oh, fuck, why do I have to deal with that thing? Frost Elemental is definitely good too, K-Shade, but in that case, objectively, I want the Venture Co. Next up, Garabushi Berserker, mainly powerful in a mage deck, not as powerful anywhere else. Mark of the Wild, this is a great way to open yourself up for a 2-for-1. Give away this card plus the guy that you attach it to. And that's why I don't like things that buff creatures. Especially since it gives the creature taunt, I'm not a big fan, because often if I'm going to buff a card, I want him to be next to a guy with taunt, so that the taunter is protecting the guy that I just buffed, you know? However, this is kind of a weak pack. The Berserker isn't amazing with a Druid. Iron for a Grizzly is okay, but not amazing either. I would rather put other stuff into the 3-drop slot. When it comes down to it, I'm going to probably go ahead with Mark of the Wild. Not my favorite by any means, but in this particular pack. Hey, if you get a Nerubian Egg and you get to put on the taunt, that's nice. Ravenholt's Assassin is a thorn in everybody's side late game. It's can't be answered pretty much even by a Flame Strike. It just sits there. You know, it can only be answered really by a Deadly Shot if it's the only creature on the board. Azure Drake is beautiful. He's a 4/4. He might cost an extra mana than he should, but he gets you an extra card draw. So it's like you're getting a free card for 1 mana. It's kind of a toss-up between these two, to be honest. As a Druid, I know that I'm going to be looking at a lot more late-game awesome creatures. So I think that because I'm a Druid, and I know I'm looking at hoping to pick up some Ironbark Protectors towards the end here, I don't think I really want to spend a slot on him when I'm looking at an Azure Drake, who is just awesome value. With me, I tend towards, when I'm choosing between 2 cards that I liked both of those guys quite a bit. I tend towards the card that costs less. If it's a toss-up, Mr. Hippie, I don't agree. No, not Azure Drake every time. For instance, Azure Drake, Ravenhold Assassin in a deck with, say, if you've already drafted heroic, what's that one that doubles a minion's attack? That is an amazing combo, and so often you'll get those two cards in the same hand because they're late game. There's a couple other cards that, Blessed Champion, there's a few cards where if you have, you know, grabbed something before, then you're gonna want that. I love Spellbreaker. He solves so many problems for you, and he's a 4/3 body to boot. Loot Hoarder gets you a card back, but he's so easily pingable by the mage. Often it'll end up being your 2 mana for their 2 mana when you're facing a mage. They have to spend 2 to get rid of him. You had to spend 2 to put him out there. You get your card back, so really it was just a trade of 2 for 2 mana. In a good case scenario, when you're not up against a mage or an assassin, a rogue, or a druid, a druid. If you're up against the other 6 classes, then he can sit out there and end up being a 2-for-1 for you, in your sense. So really, I like both of them, Spellbreaker and Loot Hoarder, but this Bloodsail Raider I'm not even looking at because she's only really good if you, she's basically a vanilla 2/3 with a druid deck because he doesn't have weapons. I'm kind of considering this based on curve right now. The thing is, the druid has a lot of really solid 4-drops, and I feel like I might spike high at the 4-drop slot. So in this case, I might want the Loot Hoarder over the Spellbreaker. And I've already got 3 in the 4-drop slot. I'm gonna go with Loot Hoarder on this one over Spellbreaker. But it's really close. I love Fairy Dragon, one of my favorite 2-drops. Already got a Mark of the Wild, and I'm not really excited about another one. The Tiger is really solid, although, again, I'm kind of curving high already, and this is really early on in the draft. And Fairy Dragon is a really solid 2-drop. So, because I'm looking, again, as a druid, to pick up some really amazing late game stuff, and, well, the Tiger... what do you guys think? Between the Tiger and the Dragon. I'm thinking Dragon. He's such a valuable 2-drop. Yeah, the Tiger is an excellent 5/5 shade, but there's other excellent 5/5s. And I'm probably going to see him again. It's so much harder to find really valuable low. I'll probably see another Tiger in this draft. But it's so rare that you get really valuable low-end cards. I'm going to go with the Dragon. Like I said, when it's a toss-up with me, I usually go for the lower casting cost. It's hard to find really good value down low. I see Savage Roar as a versatile card because not only can it finish the game, it can also be a removal spell. So if you need to be able to deal 2 damage to a creature, you can cast it, and you can deal 2 damage to any creature on the board with because it affects you, your hero, as well. It gives him 2 attack, 3 if you use your hero ability in addition to it. And it has the bonus of giving +2 to all your creatures on the board. So you can use that as removal as well, trade up, or it can be a great finisher. Stormfight Commando can be really solid when he comes into your hand at the right time, but so often he's just too expensive for what he provides. Again, weapon-based cards, not really looking at. So I'm going to go with Savage Roar, hoping that it's going to end up being a great late-game finisher for me. Oh, there's Poison Seeds again. So, okay, so I love Gnomish Inventor. I don't like Priestess of Yulun. For 6 mana, a 5/4, she's just so easily taken care of by the enemy. Whereas, and I don't care if I'm buying myself 4 health, big deal. I don't know what to think of Poison Seeds yet. Like, if I already had, like, you know, a Nerubian Egg and maybe, what's it? The Golem. Why can't I think of his name? The 2/3 that becomes a 2/1. Yeah, I think Poison Seeds is a conditional card based on what you've drafted already. If you've drafted, say, like the spider that I was looking at earlier, that when it dies becomes a couple 1/1s, and you also had Harvest Golem, and you also had, like, you know, a few things like that, Poison Seeds I would value higher. I see Poison Seeds as something that can be potentially devastating for your opponent, but more often than not is going to sit in your hand, not doing anything. Whereas Gnomish Inventor, not only does she go out the moment that you have a chance to cast her, she gets you a card back. And she's a 2/4, not a bad body, even if maybe on turn 4 that's not a great body. And I think I've already made a joke about her body in general. Ironbeak Owl is nice utility, but a 2/1 body is not great. Mad Bomber can be really annoying for people when you drop him on turn 2 and he kills their 2/1 stealth dude, or, you know, whatnot. I'm not seeing as much late game stuff as I was expecting. I like the Bomber, but I'm already spiking kind of high in the 2-drop slot, and I like Frost Elemental. Great for getting momentum back in your game. When you need time, you need to buy some time. Swipe is amazing. Great removal. Sunshatter Cleric is great for trading up, but not as good as Swipe is for removing stuff that you really need off the board. I'm glad to get one. It feels so rare that when I play Druid that I get a fucking Swipe. I feel like I never get Swipe. Ooh, Starfire is awesome, but it's expensive. But you get a card back. Whereas Harvest Golem is, I would say, arguably the most, card value-wise, the most valuable common, at least in Arena. I'm trying to think of other ones that might beat it, card value-wise. As a 3-drop, I'm saying. I love Harvest Golem. God, I love him. Fuck. What do you guys think about these two? I'm thinking Harvest Golem. Momentum. I want momentum. I hope that my late game is going to be protected by Ironbark Protectors. I swear to God, if I don't get a fucking Ironbark Protector, I never do when I play Druid. Alright, I'm going with the Golem. He's too great a card value. And I have a distinct hole in that slot right now. Another Poison Seeds. Not interested, even though I've already got a Golem. Next to the Druid of the Claw, the versatility of Druid of the Claw is amazing. I didn't pick up that... Oh, I already picked up that Acolyte earlier, so I don't need him. I don't need a second Acolyte. I'd rather go with the amazing versatility of the Druid of the Claw. Alright. See... I knew I was going to start spiking high in the 5-drop slot. I don't have enough little guys for this to be really valuable at this point. You don't need a lot of little guys for this to be valuable. But based on what my deck's looking at like right now, I don't see Soul of the Forest as being that great. More often than not, I find Soul of the Forest ends up being 2 2/2s for 4 mana. He rarely gets you 3 creatures, and very rarely gets you 4. Yeah, I see Soul of the Forest as exactly that, Shandersea. It's a win more card. You see it and you're like, man, that card has done really well for me in the past. But again, if you look at it objectively and you think to yourself, were you already doing pretty good in that game when you played it? Fen Creeper tends to be really good, but again, I'm kind of curving really high. How many 5-drops do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 5-drops. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 4-drops. If I picked Fen Creeper, it would be one of my last 5-drops that I will get. I'm going to go with the Fen Creeper. I prefer it over Solo Forest based on what my deck looks like right now. Hello! Okay. I don't think I've ever played with this guy right here. He has Taunt. Oh, no. He summons 2/2 creatures with Taunt. He's a 5/8 on turn 9. Or you can give all your other creatures +2/+2. I don't like this guy. He's an 8/8 on turn 9 and he's gimmicky. He just makes turns go fast. Big deal. Deathwing is insane as a top deck. They're both going to be played at very similar points in the game. Deathwing can easily be answered, but usually by the time you play him, usually they only have like a couple cards in hand, and usually you can gauge based on what you've been seeing them play the turns before, whether they have, like, say, a polymorph in hand or a hex in hand. If they answered your 8/8 by trading 3 of their creatures to get rid of it, you know that they don't have a hex. And you can play that with confidence, relative confidence, hoping that they don't top deck an answer. This guy's got value that's residual no matter what. I think I'm going to go with him, especially since I haven't played with him yet before. I think it's kind of interesting. I want to try him out. Darkscale Healer can heal up the board. Meh. 4/5 is okay on turn 5. Not great. Not a lot of synergy with my deck, though. Not a lot of... I mean, I think I'm going to go with the Flesh-Eating Ghoul, especially like with stuff like the Harvest Golem in here that I'm happy to trade and pump him up. And I'm seeing like a nice little slot in the 3-drop slot that I'd like to put him into. I like nice curves. I have no 0-drops. He wanted me to get the... I didn't even talk about the Wisp. Sorry, some things just automatically get blurred out. Amani Berserker is one of my favorite 2-drops. He's so hard to... He's harder to answer than most because he's got that 3 health. And he can be pumped up. Much better if you're playing as Mage, but compared to these other 2 creatures, I don't think this is a no-brainer. Tauren Warrior is okay. Direwolf Alpha is much better, allowing you to trade up creatures for very little does it cost, and you get a body to boot with it. So I'm going with the Wolf. Okay, so finally I got an Ironbark Protector just in time with 7 cards to go. Now I wouldn't actually mind a little mana acceleration. Okay, so... very solid pack. Silverhand Knight is quite good. A lot of value in him. Tazdingo can be a lifesaver. What I don't like about the Venture Co. and the Silverhand Knight right now is that my 5-drops are higher than I'd like them to be, kind of. I'm tending towards Tazdingo. Wait a second. Not really, actually. No, I think I'm going to go Silverhand Knight. What do you guys think? Between the two of them, that's a really close call, the two of those guys. What do you think? I'm open to your opinions on this. If I was playing alone, I'm trying to think of what I would pick automatically. I'd probably go with Venture Co. myself. If I wasn't looking for other opinions. Nah, don't do a poll, Shade, it's fine. I'll just... So you guys think don't write off Taz Dingo. Trying to think of how Taz Dingo can help me. I don't have a lot of early game stuff that needs protecting though. I would usually value Taz Dingo way higher if I had like a lot of little guys in the deck that I would like to protect, or if like I was a paladin. I'm gonna go for Venture Co. I don't like the curve right now that I have, but oi, fucking another poison seeds. I'm gonna go with the another Savage Roar here instead. See what I was talking about? Why I passed that early Frost Elemental, or I mean, not Frost Elemental. What did I pass earlier that cost 5 mana? Or that I was like humming and hawing about? There are a lot of 5-drops that are worth, the Druid has amazing 5-drops. What a weird curve, and there's not much I can do about it. I can't, in good conscience, choose the Loot Hoarder. I'm also spiking on the 2-drops, so why would I choose the Loot Hoarder here? Druid of the Claw has a lot of value, and he's versatile. I'm going with him even though my 5-drop slot is looking ugly as hell. Like, the whole curve looks horrible. But choosing the Loot Hoarder is not going to help that. Ugh. Oh, what a horrible pack. Awful, awful pack. Jesus Christ. This is a terrible... I just want to pass this and just play with 29 cards. I'm thinking maybe the Mage based on the fact that I have a swipe. I don't know. Delaran used to be a 2/4. Oh, it's just terrible. I have one card that does damage, and it's swipe. Should there be any reason to consider the Footman? Just to like, I'm looking at my early game stuff. Like Dire Wolf could hit him to, like you could trade up Goldshire with Dire Wolf. He could protect the Yamani Berserker for at least a turn while the Berserker swings in for 5. Other than that, like he could. I also have Wrath. Alright, I'm gonna go with the Mage, I guess. Ugh. Ugh. Didn't want to look at that pack anymore. Oh, God! I'm gonna go for the 3/3 body that can, like, you know, heal guys at least. So could the Voodoo Doctor, but I mean, a 2/1, this is just always going to be answered by a mage or something like that. You're going to face a lot of mages in Arena, and Voodoo Doctor sucks against it. I'm going to go with the Farseer. I love Imp Master, one of my favorites. I'm going to go with Imp Master. Jeez! It started out feeling pretty, like a pretty solid draft, but then it kind of fell apart towards the end. The curve was looking so nice, and then like, we'll see. Anyways, at least I got a legendary out of this. One that I haven't played with before, so I look forward to hearing what he says if I ever get to cast him. Alright, I'll take a quick break here, and I'll come back and start playing with this deck. Stay tuned. Hearthstone Awesome continues on Video Games Awesome Live.